Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sports Time HQ. I am your host, Fernando, and joined with me today is my great co-host, Keith. Keith, how are you doing today?
I'm good. The Seahawks won, so yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, not only did your Seahawks won, but my Patriots won.
I know, right? Zappy doing it again. I mean, I think we had a conversation last week. Whether you put Mac in, I think Zappy's the guy going forward. What do you think?
That's an interesting one, and I mean, we had news, and you saw on Twitter. I retweeted it. We had Albert Beer. He was talking to the DP show, and he was mentioning that there's some relationship problems with Mac Jones and the Patriots. Basically, the relationship's kind of gotten to go sideways right now, and reason for that is because Mac Jones. I mean, he's the type of quarterback that he's like, why this, why that? Like he wants to know answers, but obviously the Patriots they don't really explain answers too well. I mean, Mac Jones worked well with Josh McDaniels. McDaniels is gone. They brought a defensive coach for an offensive playbook, and then you brought in a special teams coach for a quarterback coach. So I could see where the problem is with Mac Jones. The Patriots also said that he should have gotten surgery, and Mac Jones refused.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
I mean, I think Mac Jones maybe because he thought he could get back in time, which, in all honesty, between the surgery and when he's projected to come back, it's almost very similar. Yeah. So I don't know why he really just didn't take the surgery, but
yeah, Belichick's the type of guy as well. You kind of just keep your mouth shut and play. And, you know, going from history, he made Tom Brady a star and whatever. Tom Brady won Super Bowls and Patriots great. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether, you know, Belichick maybe he's still stuck in them ways or he just doesn't take any kind of crap. It's like you just kind of like you roll with it, don't say anything. And if Zappy's going to be that guy and he's going to, you know, go out and perform and get you guys the wins, then I think it's going to be Zappy, especially if Mac Jones, you know, is going to enter him back and stuff. You know, Bill Belichick's not going to stand for that.
And who knows? I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it here or if I mentioned it on my radio show, but I mentioned that if Zappy is the starting quarterback moving forward, they trade away Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer is the backup, and they come in with Lamar Jackson next year.
Really? I think you mentioned Lamar last week, but I think if Zappy's going to be the guy, I think Zappy's going to be the guy. I mean, I agree that probably Mac gets traded because there's no point in keeping him, but I don't really see the point. I don't know if you're going to pay Lamar all that money. The Patriots are not really one for, you know.
They did it a couple years ago.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect Lamar there. I mean, it'd be a great move, but I think if Zappy's the guy and all of a sudden then you bench him and you get Lamar in, I'm not sure how well that goes down either. But I agree that if Zappy is the guy going forward and that's it for the rest of the season or something like that, and Belichick is stuck or the relationship like we've seen has gone sideways, then yeah, Mac Jones is probably, you know, a trade candidate.
It's like the Brady and Bledsoe story all over again. Deja vu.
Yeah. History repeating itself.
We already got a question in already today. Matthew Bona coming in. Do you think I should trade DJ Moore and Gibson for Tyler Lockett? The guy I'm trading for has Khalil Herbert as his RB2 PPR league. Keith, I know you're a big Moore fan, and of course Lockett's on the Seahawks. So let me hear your take on this.
DJ Moore, should I trade DJ Moore and Gibson for Tyler Lockett? I'm not too sure about this one. I mean, the way Geno's playing, Lockett and DK are pretty solid most weeks. DJ Moore has not been solid at all. I mean, it's looking like it could be another quarterback change this week. I mean, Carolina are just kind of a mess at the moment. Gibson, we've already spoken about Gibson so many times. We like the talent. He's just not used more. But then I see quotes from Ron Rivera come out and say that we need to get Gibson involved more. It's just on paper that looks like too much. But then again, if it's just a normal, you know, it's not dynasty. It's just a redraft league. Two guys that are probably underperforming than a guy that has performed. Yeah, I would probably go lean on the Lockett side. If this is dynasty, I still think I'm leaning DJ Moore and Gibson because I think the youth and everything is with them and the value is with that side. So yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. DJ Moore and Gibson, the young potential on the dynasty form of aspect. I'm not a big Moore fan, haven't been. I know a lot of people were big hype train on him. I love Lockett, actually. Didn't think he was going to do all of this well, of course, with Geno Smith. I don't think anyone did. But I think maybe if like you're going for Lockett, try to sneak a little bit more value coming back Like DJ Moore, send DJ Moore and Gibson for Lockett, but try and get like something else, like a younger, maybe even a Khalil Herbert. Try to maybe swap Khalil Herbert.
Henderson, I don't know. You could see what the running back's like, but I think you could definitely get a 2-for-2 out of this. Depends how highly the guy you're trading with, has Lockett. I don't have him that high. I just think he's way more consistent and being pretty good than DJ Moore or Gibson.
Oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm going Lockett. You going Lockett, unless it's Dynasty. Go the other way.
Yep.
Time for news, notes, and of course injuries. And of course, yesterday we had breaking news that Robbie Anderson is officially traded to the Cardinals. Don't expect DJ Moore to get any uptick because Robbie Anderson was irrelevant this whole season still, kind of, sort of. I think week one, he did good. Anyways, he was traded to the Cardinals for a 2024 6th and 2025 7th. Reason for this comes moments after the trade. Marquise Brown was potentially out for the season. They decided that it wasn't as serious as they thought. He's out for 6 weeks with a non-surgical fractured foot. And of course, don't go and buy Robbie Anderson for a whole lot because D-Hop is back. DeAndre Hopkins is back. So do not trade or get Robbie Anderson.
Seriously, murky water there in the wide receiver core for the Cards now. D-Hop coming back. You've got Robbie Anderson coming over, and you've got to factor in what happened on Sunday when he was thrown out by his own coach on the sideline. So he was always going to be on the trade block. Yep. I think it just fell well for Anderson that, Hollywood Brown went down injured, and that was probably an easy decision to make. Then they could go get Anderson. Probably just going to be, he's probably a flex play at best. I don't even think.
I'm benching him for now.
Yeah, I'd rather start Rondale Moore, I think. But the only thing is our friend Dortch, I think he's gone by the wayside. Just looking, I think he got one target his way this week. He's non-factor now. I'd imagine this offense is going to open up a whole lot more with D-Hop back. That's where the ball's mainly going to go. Zach Ertz is still going to be involved. And then you've got, obviously, Hollywood Brown out for 6 weeks. So Anderson's going to be, I think, their deep ball threat going forward. That's what he's been his whole career. So he's going to be boom or bust. You might put him in your flex and you take the chance and see how it goes. But I think it's no more than a flex play.
And you know what? They didn't pay a lot. So realistically, I mean, it's not really big trade for them that they really are having to play Robbie Anderson the whole time. They could have him as a healthy scratch.
Yeah, I agree. It's just I hope it doesn't affect Rondale Moore because I thought he was starting to look, good over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, and starting to see his potential. And I just hope it doesn't affect him.
My prediction, completely wrong on Sunday Night Football. I was really hoping that the Dallas Cowboys would beat the Philadelphia Eagles. It ended up not going my way, but the Eagles are still undefeated. Keith, what do you think of these Eagles? Like, are they clearly going to go 16-0?
Very hard to do. I said, I think a few weeks back when you asked, I said no. I said they'll have some silly defeat to a team I think that you're not expecting, but they're definitely resilient. They're very good on defense. Hurts has that offense moving well. The Cowboys got it going in the second half, gave them a bit of a game. It was kind of like, contest in that first half, but might have been different if Dak was playing. Who knows? Because Cooper Rush, the real Cooper Rush probably turned up, which is probably good for Dak because he slots straight back in now, possibly this week if he's all good to go. The Eagles are for real. They'll go a long way, but I think they'll at least lose one game on the way, anyways.
So I'm going to quickly ask you for your prediction for the rest of the season. They go on to face the Steelers. Are you expecting them to win that game?
Yeah.
Okay. Texans.
Yes, but it's these type of games that they could slip.
They're gonna,
you know what I mean? Like it's the team where you think you should beat them by like 20 points is the time where you slip up. But realistically, yes, they should.
Commanders.
Division game. Heineke's going to be playing, so that's different dynamic. I really like Heineke when he plays, so that could be the game they lose.
So you're going to say they lose against the Commanders?
They could lose to the Commanders, yeah.
Okay. Colts?
No, they'll beat the Colts.
They'll beat them. Packers at home.
Yeah, the way the Packers are playing, they'll beat the Packers.
Yeah. Titans.
No.
They're at home again.
Titans suck.
Giants 5-1.
That's an interesting game. I mean, I still kind of have to pinch myself and go, the Giants are 5-1. I think I didn't watch the whole game. I seen bits, but like they were losing for basically the
Yeah.
majority of the game, and they still win. So they
Lamar
have
Jackson's interception at the end.
Yeah, at the end, exactly. Yeah, they have that resilience. Brian Dayball's definitely getting the best out of Daniel Jones that we've seen, so far, and Barkley. So I think they'll give them a game, but I think the Eagles will shade that one.
Oh, okay. Bears.
No, they'll beat the Bears.
Okay. Cowboys.
Cowboys round 2 with Dak. I think Dak could beat them.
Okay.
So there you go.
And then to finish off the last 2 games, Saints and Giants.
So it depends how it all matters, especially the last game. You know what I mean? The Giants could beat them if the Giants right now have something to play for. So whether they all just throw out their backups and kind of say, we've made the playoffs or whatever, who knows? But on paper, yeah, they should win both of them.
Both of them? Okay. So hypothetically, right now, your prediction is 15-2.
Yeah, there you go.
To finish off, they lose. I think you said the Commanders, and then there was the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have them going 13-3. I have them losing to the Giants, the Cowboys, and then I have them losing twice to the Giants because I think the last game doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's what I'm like as well. I think the last game doesn't matter, but I think it could be in the same boat if the Giants are there too.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what will happen with Philly. I mean, I'd like to see a 16-0 season now. You're already 6-0.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see it. I think it'd be great. And then
Philly chokes at the end.
Yeah, I think that's what would happen. They'd get to the Super Bowl or something and get beaten. But
and Patriots win the Super Bowl with Zappy.
That'd be funny.
That'd be so funny. It's Tom Brady. It's really Tom Brady deja vu all over again.
Yeah, or somehow the Seahawks made it in, bet the Eagles before they even got there with Geno. That'd be even funnier. But yeah,
Battle of the Birds.
Yeah, that'd be fun. There you go. Got the headline already.
Of course. Dak Prescott still staying in the NFC East. Dak Prescott, they expect him to come back this week. So Cooper Rush, I think if he won that game, I think there could have been whether or not Dak comes back or not. But Dak is officially back and staying again in the NFC East. They got a lot of news. Carson Wentz out for 4 to 6 weeks. Like you mentioned, Taylor Heineke going to get the starting nod. Wentz is out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured ring finger. Do you think Taylor Heineke can improve this Commanders team?
Yeah, thought he looked pretty good last year. I don't know why he didn't get a chance to be the starter this year. So I think this could be an uptick for for Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel.
Terry.
Yeah. Jahan Dotson probably coming back after being injured too. So, I mean, if he plays like he did last year, he's going to give them a good chance to win games.
I'll be intrigued. I'll be intrigued to see. I want to see the Commanders stick with Heineke going forward.
So do I. I agree. I mean, I don't think you're going anywhere quick. Are you really? Like, I don't get some of these teams when you look at the landscape of the NFL. Like, do the Commanders really think they're going far and going to win a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz? No. You know what I mean? Like, they need to be building blocks on the offense and defense and then going to get their quarterback. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. It's kind of what I thought the Seahawks were doing. Now, who knows, because Geno's played well, but they're trying to get the pieces together on offense and defense and then go get their guy next year. But I don't really know what the Commanders are doing. You know what I mean? They had Heineke. I mean, now it's Carson Wentz. I mean, I think Heineke's better, but you ain't going anywhere fast with Wentz. So let's give Heineke a go and see how far they go. He got them to the playoffs last year. So
yeah, and I think it's the same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. I think Jimmy G should have still kept his job, and Trey Lance was the biggest bust. I mean, I've never been into him. So
that's just harsh because he got hurt. I still agree for real life that it probably Jimmy G gives the 49ers the best chance because, there was the whole new to the offense thing for Trey Lance. He's got to wait and work his way in and, get used to the systems and all that. But, going forward for fantasy football, I think Trey Lance's numbers would have been a hell of a lot better. I don't know whether we're going to see that now. Who knows, going forward. But yeah, it's probably a similar situation.
Nick asking Lions winning this week. What's your take? Lions are facing the Cowboys. I'm taking Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm taking Cowboys. I mean, it's probably going to be another high-scoring affair that the Lions lose because their defense just doesn't turn up. I really like what Dan Campbell's doing there. Really like the whole Hard Knock show. I think I said it before. Really like him as a coach. I'd really like to play with him. but he needs to get it. He needs to get that defense sorted. I mean, if they were just as good on defense and they were on offense, they'd be probably winning every game. And I think they're 1-4. They'd be 5-0. So yeah, I mean, I still think they give it a good go, but the Cowboys should have too much for them in the end.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned head coach Dan Campbell being a great coach, but the question is Cliff Kingsbury a good coach? This man is considering giving up play calling duties because whatever it takes to win, in quotes. What's your thought on that?
Sounds like what Zach Taylor should do in the Bengals too. Yeah, I mean, the first step generally when it comes to this, when the coach is calling, especially offensive plays, and it's not going well, the first kind of job that gets taken off him is the play calling before he kind of gets sacked from this job. So yeah, it's the initial move he's got to do to see if he can get this offense going. I thought the Seahawks played well against them, to be honest. I thought the Cards, I thought Kyler tried his best. He ran around the place, but I thought the Seahawks actually played really well. Limited Kyler to not much. I mean, D-Hop is going to make a big difference. Let's be honest. He's a great talent. Yeah. He's a great player. If he just did what Rodgers did with Adams for years and just hyper targeted him, that's going to even be better for this offense. James Conner was a miss, so they had that injury, but I think it was more kind of like last season, the season before, that the expectation was really there for them to make a really good Super Bowl run, and it's kind of fallen flat in their face, and they've not started well this year. So yeah, Kingsbury's got to do something. They got to take the play call and off him. If that doesn't work, and he's still the head coach, his head will be on the block. Then I think they need to get someone else in there because they do have a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah, oh yeah, and love how you said head in the block. Speaking of Arizona, are you starting Chris Olave against Arizona or Allen Lazard against Washington? That's a question from CKAC Sports, half PPR league. I'm starting Olave because Olave, when he's healthy, he's been actually doing really well. And Lazard, it's kind of a hit or miss with Green Bay right now. I'm not Lazard. It's either he's going to do good or Dobbs is going to do good or Tanyan's going to do good. Like, who really is that guy? I'm more trustworthy on Chris Olave than Allen Lazard.
It looks like, yeah. So I'm going Olave as well because it looks like, you've got Landry looking like he's out again. Michael Thomas probably the same. Olave probably going to be the wide receiver one on this. Lazard has found the end zone in back-to-back weeks, so he is getting that, which is a good upside. But Packers offense doesn't look great. Aaron Rodgers he doesn't have a lot of time in the pocket. He has the thumb injury. The offensive line's pretty bad. So yeah, I would go Chris Olave.
Easy question there. And then continuing on the NFC, Tom Brady 3-3 lost to Pittsburgh by 2. So clearly, if anyone's starting the Buccaneers, I mean, clearly you're not getting any bang for your buck. They're right now ranked 32nd in yards per rushing attempt, which is not good at all. Last in the league, 25th tied for 25 in touchdowns. Their yards per game ranked 22nd. Their points per game, only 19. That's ranked 20th. So is Father Time catching up, or is it just a banged up Buck team?
There's a lot going on with Tom Brady as well, if you're to believe all the rumors about, the divorce and all. But I was also reading into, he missed training. Like he gets Wednesdays off, then he missed the training on a Friday or the practice on a Friday.
He went to the wedding. He went to Robert Kraft's wedding.
Yeah, exactly. And then he turns up to play on a Sunday. So it's very hard when you see him shouting and screaming at his offensive line. You're kind of like, hey, you missed 2 practices in a week. You know what I mean? You weren't there. Yeah. I get you don't need it fitness-wise or anything like that, but you need it for the continuity with your team and your players and all that stuff. And you're Tom Brady. You should be showing up to these things, right? I get it. It's not just him. They haven't looked good. They've been terrible rushing the ball. I think like the worst team in the league are rushing the ball. So there's a lot of things going on there. Their defense is trying to. It's always been good, but it's trying to hold up. It's just it's going to give if the offense is not playing well. So. Yeah, he needs to get back on rhythm. This week is a good opportunity as well. They get the Panthers, so they could get back on the form in this game.
Yeah, it should be an easy matchup. I think good win for the Bucks. At least should be a good win for the Bucks. Last one for news and notes before we dive into the waivers and busts of surprises, streamers of the week. Russell Wilson, this man has not been good, and rumor came out that he is facing a hamstring injury. So just when you thought last week he was facing another injury, well, he's got one more this week. They have not scored over 20 points this season. And they are right now ranked really, really down bad right now on how many points they've scored averaging each game. And it's a slugfest of field goals, basically, every single game. What's your thoughts?
I mean, this is always an excuse. Yeah, the shoulder injury, now it's a hamstring. I put up a comment on Twitter, I think last week, that he's just blind in one eye and he can't see in the other. I mean, there was so many open Bronco players that he just missed. The one was Dulch. That was the obvious one when he just needed 2 yards to get a first down. Standing right in front of him, like right in his eye line. I don't know what he'd be looking at because I don't know how you miss him. So, don't know. It seems like there's always an excuse after a bad game. I mean, like, I'm not going after Russ just because he left the Seahawks. Nothing like that. It's clear to everybody's eyes he's been bad. The whole offense hasn't really been good at all. Haven't been helped with Javonte going down early, but they lean on this defense. That's what kept them in the game. I didn't think the Chargers were that great last night. Didn't think Herbert was, overly brilliant either. He missed a lot of throws. But from a Russ point of view, this move has not worked out. We spoke about it before, giving him the big money so early on, before the season even started. Big mistake for me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Russ can not just put up his hand and say, like, I'm just not playing well, instead of going, oh, my shoulder is hurt, my hand.
Next week's the finger.
Yeah, well, like, just get a new set of glasses or something, because if you need something to actually see that the guys are open, but you're just not getting the ball out quick enough. I mean, he doesn't look like the guy in Seattle. In my point of view, from my opinion, we did the right thing getting rid of him for what we got in return and sticking by Pete Carroll. I know there was a lot of people that were like totally out on Pete, old school, all this stuff, but so far we're doing okay, I think a lot better than most people expected, and the Broncos are doing terrible. Like, they were expected to be a top team going for the Super Bowl, but they won't be this year.
Nope. Seahawks 3-3, the Broncos 2-4. And I mean, the Broncos, they don't look good. And right now, in fantasy wise, Russell Wilson's at the QB 20. And if you're in a one quarterback league, he shouldn't be owned. He should be dropped in all formats. But I know he won't be, not in all formats, in all one quarterback formats. But that's the problem. His name's so high and so big that if you drop him, someone might go pick him up, which honestly,
I bet them.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Had one good week as far as I've seen. I don't have any shares of Russ, but in one QB
I
league,
sadly do.
Oh, that's per.
And they're in dynasty leagues too.
Oh no! Oh yeah. Well, so that's not too bad. You're probably okay. You could be okay moving forward, depending on how it all plays out. But as of now, if you're in a redraft league, there's no need for you to be holding on to Russ. You can put him on your bench if you really want. Start streaming guys or take guys in. I mean, I think there's going to be better days for Tom Brady going forward. I think Matt Ryan, I'll probably talk about him later, probably better days for him too. There's guys out there in the waivers that I'd have over Russ for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of that, Russell Wilson was probably one of the biggest busts of the season. Let's go to the bust of the week, and I'll start with myself. My bust of the week is Keenan Allen. I mean, you could even maybe say, like, he's been very irrelevant, like not irrelevant, but roller coaster.
Keenan Allen hasn't even played. Is that your bust?
No, sorry. Did I say Keenan Allen?
How can you have Keenan Allen hasn't even played?
Sorry, I was reading off a Keenan Allen on my thing. Mike Williams, that is my bust. Yes, of course, Keenan Allen has been
the other guy
injury. The other guy, yeah. Mike Williams is my bust of the week. 3.7 points versus Denver. Keenan Allen should be coming back. That will be my line that I'm going to use for Keenan Allen. And hopefully when Keenan Allen gets back, maybe it will help separate more coverage for Mike Williams. But right now, Mike Williams has kind of been on a roller coaster. He gets you good games, but then he also busts a lot of these games. I think he's had like 3 games where he's busted and 3 games where he's boomed. He's averaging 13.8 points, and he's the wide receiver 17, which, don't get me wrong, that's really good. But when Williams has had targeted 6 or less times, he scored less than 9 points a game and less than 20 receiving yards. Don't forget about that. And then when he gets targeted 10 or more times, he has over 100 yards receiving and 19 or more points scored, which my reason for that is, the reason why I'm saying that is trade him now and go get yourself a more consistent guy.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a bust, but like he's having a total, him type of season. Even previous years, he'd have these games where he'd go off, make these really ridiculous catches, get hurt, get injured, then go missing. But this season, he's managed to stay healthy so far. It's Keenan Allen, obviously, like you said, has been hurt, but it's typical of what he does. He has some really good games, and then he just busts other week. So, yeah, you need the more consistency. I really like the guy. I really like the talent, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with Herbert. He's not targeting him enough.
No, not at all. And that's going to be something interesting to see, because who knows, maybe when Keenan Allen gets back, we see Mike Williams starting to progress again and get some more targets, more points. But right now, I'm concerned on Mike Williams because he's just back and forth.
Yeah, with Keenan Allen back, it should, because you'd imagine the top corners are going to take Keenan Allen,
exactly.
And Williams would be up against the second. So yeah, that will help.
That's my bust of the week. Of course, not Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Who's your guy?
Mine is Tyler Higbee. 2 targets, 1 reception, 7 yards, a whole of 1.7 fantasy points. Well, hey, that's probably what you were used to last year and the year before. I mean, the whole of the Rams offense stinks so far this season, unless you've got Cooper Kupp, because it's just Stafford Kupp. It's getting very boring, and that's how I think that's how coaches and teams are starting to figure them out. And it's just like, oh yeah, Kupp gets open the most, we throw it to Kupp. But to be fair, Higbee's been pretty good, pretty solid this year so far. So I'm hoping for like me that has some shares of him in leagues that, it was just a 1 week thing, and that he'll get back to maybe around the 10-point mark next week, some solid, maybe 6 targets, 4 or 5 catches, who knows, might get in the end zone. But yeah, he's definitely a bust this week, but let's hope it's just a 1 week thing.
Yeah, because Tyler Higbee's actually been doing good as a fantasy player. I mean, of course, like you said, we're used to seeing him doing really bad, but he's actually doing pretty good this season. I think he's top 12, if I'm correct, top 10. So yeah, I like Higbee a lot, and you're not going to get every single week for a tight end. Anyways, you're not going to get consistency for tight ends.
No, it's just the way the position goes, really.
Unless you have like someone like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, then you're all set. But other than that, I mean, Higbee's going to get your bust weeks. There's going to be busts here and there, but overall, I'm fine with that. I think I'm good sticking with Higbee going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be sticking with him going forward. Just hopefully this is just a 1 week thing, and we'll get over it, and it's fine with me.
Randy Miller coming in. Should I trade for DJ Moore? The trade rumors make me believe he has major upside. With Robbie Anderson not doing anything, I mean, we touched on it a little earlier with another trade from DJ Moore. I'm not really all too interested in DJ Moore. I'm willing to try and take my chances on anywhere else, even like a Lockett guy over DJ Moore.
I wouldn't put you off, but the QB situation definitely scares me. But if you are going to trade, make sure you're trading low. Make sure, don't go out of your way. Don't be giving someone crazy for DJ Moore. Make sure he's a low buy, because then he has plenty of upside.
Exactly. I mean, the man was targeted 7 times, only caught 3 of those last week, and not to mention Robbie Anderson. He was irrelevant. He got benched, and I mean, we still didn't really see much production from DJ Moore. So I'm not.
The good thing, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
He may be traded. With what's going on there, he may be traded. So that could be the best thing that happens. That if you do go get him in fantasy, and then he's traded to a better team or a team that's going to target him more or use him more, then it'll work out for you. But he's definitely buy low.
So DJ Moore gets traded, Robbie Anderson gets traded, CMC gets traded.
I wouldn't be surprised, because then they could just get all these picks and start over. They need to.
They do. They need us. That's what they need.
That's what they do.
Randy's still coming in. It's Tua and Thielen too much for Rondale Moore. My current wide receivers are Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson.
In a nutshell, yes. If I'm giving up Tua and Thielen for Rondale Moore, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with taking Rondale Moore, because I don't see Robbie Anderson being any relevancy in Arizona, at least for now. Tua, he may get you the games once he comes back healthy. But Thielen just had his really good game this week. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Tua. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm not a big fan of Tua. Hope he obviously recovers, but I'm not a big fan of Rondale either. I don't like this trade. I don't like this trade at all.
I am. So we'll go on my side then. So I do like Tua, and definitely he should be back this week. The upside's there. He's got the weapons. He can also run. Thielen is seeing more targets, and he did find the end zone. So that could continue. So I would prefer that side over Rondale. especially with D-Hop coming back.
Yeah, I mean, again, Thielen, I think if you're going for Rondale Moore, I think you keep doing Thielen. 100%. I think you keep him. If you have Rondale Moore and you're trying to get those two, and the guy somehow does give it to you,
I'd sell,
then you win the trade.
Yep.
Because Thielen's still going to produce. I think Thielen's better than Rondale Moore.
In the short term.
Redraft. In
the short term.
But yeah, that's my take on that. So our 2 busts of the week: Mike Williams, Tyler Higbee. Let's go to our biggest surprises. Where are we flying? Are we flying to the other side of the country?
Brandon Ayuk, is that where we're flying to?
San Fran.
But I mean, the guy went off. He had Deebo Samuel numbers: 11 targets, 8 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 85 yards, 28 fantasy points. I mean, come on, these are Deebo Samuel numbers. I'd say
he robbed him.
He did rob him. I'd say a lot of people had Ayuk on their bench going, "Oh no," I know I did. So yeah, big surprise. Whether he'll do it again, who knows? I mean, he's definitely a guy with lots of potential. We've seen that a couple of years back when Deebo went down. But I think he's worthy as one of the biggest surprises this weekend. Hopefully he keeps it up.
Yeah. Shockingly enough, in 2 of my leagues that I do have Ayuk, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to play Brandon Ayuk. I don't know why, but for some reason I was like, I think I'm going to do it. 1 league, it still didn't pay off because I still lost.
Of course you did.
So, but overall, I didn't do bad this week. This was actually one of my best fantasy weeks. I went 13-5 in my 18 leagues. 13-5, which isn't bad.
That's good. That's pretty good.
I lost by 0.70 in 1.
That new league, I think I'm 6-0. The new sports. I think you're behind me. There's 2 leagues. 2 leagues I'm in with you that I've been unbeaten. So.
Oh, the ESPN league. Is that what it is?
One of them is either Twitter. I think it's Madden, and the new sports time when we got going. Yeah, so you need to catch up with me.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll face you in the playoffs. I'll beat you in the playoffs.
Okay, you can get me there.
So Randy Miller again coming back saying, "How about the sportsbook prediction? Herbert no passing touchdowns. 36 of the last 37. Herbert has thrown a touchdown." I mean, I think Herbert's going to continue to throw touchdowns. Are you saying if he's going to get over 37?
How about this?
Are you understanding this, Keith?
36 of the last 37 games, Herbert has thrown a touchdown. So he's going to continue to throw this.
Yeah,
at least one a game. That's
if you're thinking that he's not going to score a touchdown this next week against Seattle,
he definitely will. That game could be. I think that one could get the over. I think the over was 50 or 51. I think that could get the over.
Yeah, I think he's going to still score a touchdown. Eckler will get touchdowns, but I think Herbert does get at least one. I would be shocked if he doesn't.
He'll throw a touchdown.
Yeah, of course. So Brandon Ayuk, of course, getting the biggest surprise of the week for yourself. One of mine is, of course, let's keep the tight end train going. And my surprise was Mike Gesicki. I mean, he just all of a sudden ended up blowing up and scoring a bunch of points, 24.9 points, had 7 targets, 6 receptions, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is the first game that he's had over 4 targets. So yeah, he's a big surprise of the week. Are you going to pick him up right away? You probably will, but I don't think you should. He's only about 40% owned, if I'm correct, in leagues. But take those touchdowns out. Always take the touchdowns out because you know what? You never know with touchdowns. Targets, you're guaranteed, if it's consistent, you're guaranteed to always get them. Take those touchdowns out. You minus 12 points. He only ends up really leaving with 12.9 points. Crazy fact, though, and Keith, I don't know if you know this one, but with that week, after that week, he's currently tight end 12. Tight end 12.
It's the way the tight end landscape is. You have one good week and it just plummets you straight up.
He's ahead of right now of Pat Freiermuth, Conklin, Disley, and then he's only 3 points away from Hurst and 5 points away from Tanyan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Unbelievable. But yeah.
He does have the best celebration in the league, though. That gritty.
Oh, my goodness.
He said he's never doing it again. No, I want to see that every week. That is the best gritty. He does it like in hyper speed and hasn't got a clue what he's doing. His hands are moving everywhere, but it's the best thing to watch.
Yeah, I had a blast watching it. You saw the Twitter, the tweet stuff, I'm guessing, between him and
Jefferson, saying he was not doing it again, and Jefferson's going on about it and stuff. But he definitely should do it and keep doing it when he gets in the end zone.
Speaking of celebrations, did you see the Vikings? One of their touchdown celebrations.
They put like 50 touchdowns or 50 celebrations in the one. Like you had the Waddle, you had a guy that was getting like CPR. Yeah, it was crazy.
Insane.
They had loads going on. They were good.
Insane.
We need more of them. There used to be loads of dance celebration stuff. Now everybody just gets in the end zone and kind of spikes the ball or drops it or gives it to like an O-line to spike. We need some more fun celebrations.
Yeah, I mean, and then don't give them a foul for unsportsmanlike conduct or anything along those lines for a foul.
Exactly.
But anyways, Randy coming back. Is Bellinger an ad over Cade Otton? I think it's 100%. 100%. I actually like Bellinger. I picked him up in drafted him in a couple dynasty leagues. I actually like him a lot. I pick him over Otton.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if he's there and you need a plug and play, like Higbee's out this week or something, yeah, go get him. He's definitely getting the connection with Daniel Jones, seeing some nice numbers, targets, and then getting in the red zone now. So yeah, he's not a name a lot of people know, so you might be able to get him, and especially if it's fab, you might get him for like $1 and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely go over on.
Easily. Surprise of the week: Mike Gesicki, Brandon Ayuk, or my and Keith's two guys. Time to go to our streamers of the week, and I'll start with my streamer. My streamer is the man that took J.K. Dobbins' job and possibly will take over his job, Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, 10 attempts, 119 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 targets, 1 reception, 8 yards, finishing his day at 19.7 points. He was their primary rusher in Baltimore in the second half because J.K. Dobbins, he was dealing with a knee tightness. And, of course, he had knee problems a couple seasons ago, came back from it. It's coming back and kind of messing around his knee, so keep an eye on that. And the reason why he is my streamer is just in case that Dobbins and Gus Edwards end up being out or / they are getting reduced snap percentage. Kenyon Drake is only 3.3% owned right now. I'm expecting that to go up because of his major breakout this week. But if he is 100% healthy and Dobbins and Gus Edwards are both out, Kenyon Drake is a plug and play.
Yeah, agree. I mean, the guy is talented. He was like highly touted a few years ago in Miami. Everybody was going after him early on in drafts, and it didn't work out. And ever since then, it's kind of been like, yeah, he's a guy that you just plug and play when you need him, take him off the waivers. But had a good week this week. He is, like I said, talented dude. He will get a lot of looks, especially if them two guys are out. But the Gus Bus is probably on the way back, I think. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that is the downside is Lamar is the best rusher on this team. So he will take a lot of, around the goal line and stuff like that. But as we seen last week, he did get his in the end zone and stuff. So, yeah, he's definitely a guy you can plug and play. But I would be wary and have a watch for Dobbins and Gus Edwards and see what their status is.
Would you start Kenyon? Would you rather have Kenyon Drake or Gus Edwards lead that backfield?
Because
I lean Kenyon Drake. I know Edwards has a little bit more seniority there, but I think Kenyon Drake.
I would lean Drake slightly because Gus Edwards goes down with injuries a lot.
Exactly. And we'll see if he gets activated from the PUP list soon. Still hasn't yet. But anyways, Keith, who is your streamer of the week?
My streamer is Matt Ryan. Had a good week this week against the Jags. 389 yards, 3 touchdowns. Feels like they're finally getting it around. He's finally get on the same page with some wide receivers. The offensive line looks a little bit better, even though there was no, Jonathan Taylor out there. They played the Titans, who they played in week 4, and he put up 17 fantasy points, a couple of touchdowns on that, and 356 yards. So I'm expecting at least that this week because they weren't on fire. They weren't, they didn't have, they went on the same page with the wide receivers. Pittman and Pierce were all off. Now it's starting to work. The cogs are turning there for Matt Ryan. Because he is old, so he definitely has cogs. But I'm expecting at least 17 points again, if not more. And I think they'll win this game. So Matt Ryan, I think, is a good streamer this week.
Matt Ryan is right now second for most passing yards this season. He has 1,765 yards. He has currently 29 more yards than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because they haven't got the ground game going at all, and then Jonathan Taylor being out, so it leans to Matt Ryan having to throw more.
Deion Jackson was doing good. I don't know if you picked him up and started him, but I needed running back help this week, and I picked him up and plugged him in.
I didn't pick him up anywhere, but what I've seen, he looks pretty good. Now he'll probably go back to being maybe the second string.
Yeah.
Once Taylor's back, because he's not getting ahead of Taylor. But yeah, he looks pretty decent.
Exactly. And he did go down with an injury, and I think if I'm correct, they said that he's going to be all right and he should be back. So just keep an eye out just in case Jonathan Taylor is out, which he's been a big bust this year.
There goes your number one pick. And it's crazy because he's been active for most of the games. Literally, when we were talking about the start of the season and who's number one in CMC, it was all about the injury that kind of ruled him out for the season. This injury is not going to rule Jonathan Taylor out for the season, but what he's done out there has been terrible. McCaffrey at least has been good when he's been out there.
Exactly. But that's going to do it for our streamers of the week. Kenyon Drake, Matt Ryan, our two streamers. Go pick them up and go stream them for this week. But now it's time to get into our waiver wires. And of course, we got to start with waiver wire quarterbacks. And Keith, who is your waiver wire quarterback?
Oh, it's taken a while for this one. I suppose I think I might have had him a few weeks last year.
It must be Mac Jones.
No, it's Daniel Jones, though. I mean, he's looked a lot better. I think he's got way more comfortable in that offense. He's not lighting up the league with numbers like this week, 173 yards, a couple of touchdowns. But he's rushing a lot more. He had 6 rushing attempts, which is, high for him from previous years. He didn't put up big numbers fancy wise. It was just over 13 points. But the thing I like going forward the next few weeks, he plays the Jags, the Seahawks, then he has his bye. He has the Texans and Detroit. They all scream to me like the bad defenses, and Daniel Jones can take advantage of this. I get he's basically got no wide receivers, but he's still doing well. So I think Daniel Jones will do he'll do great in them 4 games. I think he'll have a lot more than 13 points. He should be up near the 20-point mark because them defenses are not good. We've seen the Jags just get beat up by the Colts, Matt Ryan. So I think the same thing can happen again. You'll just see a lot of Saquon Barkley as well, but I think, Daniel Jones is a great play this week.
Right now, QB 15, averaging 15.1 points a game. And he is also one of the very few who have started and have not scored under double digits, which is always good to see from a quarterback. Of course, last week, 13.52 points. Not the greatest, but again, he's still putting up numbers. Are they good numbers? If you're in desperate need, especially 2 quarterback leagues, if you're in desperate need, Daniel Jones has to be a starter.
Yeah, I just think the matchups coming up are just too good. Like, there's definitely guys you don't want to play. I mean, like, would you start Daniel Jones or Russell Wilson? I think I'll start Daniel Jones this week. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, I agree with that. I can go with that. I can go behind that. Yeah. Daniel Jones, your guy. I like him. I don't know about fantasy, though. Not a big fantasy guy with him, but unless I'm really in desperate need to start a quarterback. But he's only, 27.1% owned? So he's available in a lot of leagues. Mm-hmm. My guy is someone who is just a little bit less than what Daniel Jones is owned. That's Jimmy Garoppolo. And I was debating on whether or not I should have him be my waiver wire out of the week last week. I decided not to. This week, he finally is in there. 16.94 points this past week. 2 interceptions was his biggest problem. You take those 2 interceptions out, he scores over 20 points, which is great. Something you want to see from a quarterback, but those 2 interceptions really hurt his value. But the last 2 games, he's had 250 plus yards, 2 touchdowns. The next game, he's facing Kansas City. And of course, Kansas City is Kansas City. You're most likely going to be playing from behind, so that will need him to be throwing. I could see him throwing either close or just over 40 passing attempts, excuse me.
Really? I mean, I don't mind the call. I just think the Chiefs defense will step up in this game. I think you're going to need good week again from Ayuk. You'll need Debo coming back with a big week. I think Jimmy G is going to have a lot of guys in his face, but like you said, the upside is that they're probably going to be playing from behind, so he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. So there's optimism there from a fantasy point of view that he will put up a big week, But I'd be just a little bit scared about him. I'm not too sure. I think the Chiefs' offense may step up this week. I'm expecting the Chiefs win anyways. They'll be on a bit of a backlash after getting beaten by the Bills.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Garoppolo, Daniel Jones, our two quarterbacks, waiver wire quarterbacks of the week. Time to go into our running backs. And who is this guy? Who's your guy?
Who's my guy? So I went a little bit for probably guys in deeper leagues, but I went for Kyron Williams for the Rams, especially, with the Cam Akers situation, who we got Darrell Henderson there now, and that's kind of it. Kyron Williams was a guy drafted by the Rams this year who McVay really, really talked up. He liked what he got there. Went on IR early, but is eligible to come back this week. I'm not saying you have to go rush out and spend all your fab on him or anything like that, but I think he's a guy just to keep an eye on. If he's active, he will get touches in that backfield. We know what McVay likes to do, and Henderson has been there for a while and he's never been just the guy. So I think Williams will be the guy that comes in, could get the goal line touches if he's active. It's just a guy, I think, if you have the room, that you can stash and has a lot of upside.
And if you can't stash him and you want someone that will be clearly the number one guy, I'm going to take my guy, Darrell Henderson. Both of us have Rams players, Rams running back, excuse me. Not to mention, I do want to note this. They are on a bye week this week. So Darrell Henderson, anyways, he may be dropped by a couple teams because they need to fill in that void and get another starting player. But anyways, Henderson, 12 attempts, 43 yards, and a touchdown. He salvaged his day with a touchdown. He also had the 3 targets, 2 receptions, 9 yards. Overall, he had 13.2 points. And, of course, we mentioned those are the two guys that are really the number one, number two guys if Kyron Williams can get off that IR. But Cam Akers, of course, he tweeted about a picture of him walking in through the fog. And, of course, it looked like there's going to be a new beginning coming soon for him. Cam Akers probably going to be traded either this week or next week. And who knows, he could be a healthy scratch if he still isn't traded by the end of this week. But don't forget, they're on a bye week. And again, I mentioned my streamer of the week, Kenyon Drake. Don't forget, he's a sneaky play if both Dobbins and Edwards are still out.
Yeah, one thing I want to just jump in there about the bye weeks, that just watch your league mates. Watch who they drop more than who they're picking up. Because as Fernando said, you could be dropping some of these guys that you could stash and have them back after 1 week. I mean, Henderson's a must plug in play in a lot of leagues. And there's going to be guys that are desperate, to pick up other players just to fill a roster and are going to drop a lot of these, high-end guys that are getting a lot of touches. So just keep an eye out on guys that are being dropped, because you could pick them up then, and next week, all of a sudden, you've got an RB1 or wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And who knows? Maybe if Henderson goes down, then Kyron is officially the guy. There's no one else. Yeah,
I mean, he's just a good deeper leagues. Definitely, I think you go get him. But, even 10, 12 team leagues, he's a good stash. If you've got the room on your bench, stash him, see what happens after this week. I think you'll probably find out more about him coming off IR this week. So you'll know then, for next week, what's going on.
Yeah. Darrell Henderson, Kyron Williams, our 2 waiver wire running backs of the week. Now it's time to go into our waiver wire wide receivers. And Keith, who's your guy? Let's pierce this onto the bulletin board.
It's Alex Pierce. I brought him up last week too, but I think this guy, he looks really good. I really liked him coming out of college, and I like the landing spot too, because the Colts needed a wide receiver too. They needed someone opposite Pittman. But 7 targets, 3 receptions, got into the end zone again. I mean, he is a very, very solid flex play, if not a wide receiver, like a low end wide receiver too these days. He's putting up very consistent numbers. I think he will going forward. He's obviously already got the connection with Matt Ryan. So I'm expecting him just to be a solid flex play. He's going to be, I think, a good wide receiver 2 in time, but he's a solid flex play, low end wide receiver 2.
10.2 points. He's averaging wide receiver 50 right now. Reason why for that is because he didn't play he had only 2 targets, no receptions week 1, didn't play week 2. Last 4 weeks, I mean, he's been pretty good. 5 or more targets, over 50, or just under 50 yards in 1 game, which was last week. Didn't matter because he had the touchdown. I'm expecting him to also be that uptick. And not to mention, what's crazy about this is he's only 25.3% owned. He needs to be rostered in all leagues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he got the youth on the side. I mean, if you have him in Dynasty, I think you have a guy for years here that's going to be great alongside Michael Pittman. I'd be really happy if I got him in Dynasty. Unlucky for me, I didn't, but I do have a lot of shares of him in redraft. And he plays some leagues. He plays in flex. Some leagues I'm looking at him as my wide receiver 2 now. So I think he's going to give you great numbers going forward.
Yeah, Alex Pierce. If you didn't take him, I was going to pick him as my waiver wire ad of the week.
There you go.
So I love him. Michael Fabiano just tweeted Brett Ripien is the backup quarterback for Denver if Russell Wilson is not able to go.
Denver going to the Super Bowl with Brett Ripien or whatever his name is.
Yes. My waiver wire wide receiver is someone who I actually had to take a chance on this week. He's been in my starting lineup for the past couple weeks. Obviously not really doing that great. And I was like, this is the last week. I got to take a chance on him because I needed another wide receiver to fit my wide receiver 3 role. And Chase Claypool, he's my guy. 7 targets, and he caught all of them for 96 yards, 4 yards shy of 100, and then a touchdown. Don't forget, he also had one weird rushing attempt for 8 yards. He's currently the wide receiver 34, 61.7% owned, 9.5 points per game, going up against Miami, which is huge. He's had 6 targets, 5 of the 6 games this season, double-digit points the last 2 weeks. I mentioned they're going to face Miami. They just gave up 16.7 to Jefferson and 15.6 to Thielen. Claypool's a sneaky pickup this week if you really need him. And I don't want to spoil anyone who's into Deontay Johnson, but Claypool's only 9.4 points this season away from Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, and that offense hasn't done a whole lot really, but Claypool's probably as best has been a flex up till now. But we know with Claypool, he always has at least one big game in him. He goes off crazy. It's like he did it last year, had 2 touchdowns in one game. He looked really good this week, and he looks a lot better with Trubisky out there too. That's what really hit me. He was targeting him a lot. So that's probably something to watch, whether, Pickett's going to be back in or it's going to be Trubisky, however how that shakes out. But Chase, with the bye weeks, Claypool's definitely a guy you can plug and play this week. Even as a low-end wide receiver 2, I still think he can put up decent numbers.
Yeah, I love Chase Claypool. I actually liked him over Deontay Johnson. He just hasn't been able to produce.
Yeah.
And this is the week he was able to produce, and hopefully he stays fantasy relevant.
Yep, that's it. He has the big playability as well. He's got the crazy catch-up side. He has the speed in behind. There is that about him. I think it's more just how this offense goes, how it runs, the new quarterbacks. That's kind of more the downside to it. But I think if Trubisky's out there, I think Claypool's definitely the better option.
Chase Claypool, Alec Pierce, our 2 waiver wire wide receivers of the week. Time to go to our tight ends. Keith, I'll start with yourself. Who is your guy? And I feel like, did you mention this guy before?
I did indeed. It's Robert Tonyan. He had 12 targets, 10 receptions, 90 yards. I mean, they are wide receiver numbers, not a tight end number. The only thing he didn't do was find the end zone, but he still got you like 19 fantasy points. The Packers are bad. Let's just stay out there. The Packers are bad. So Aaron Rodgers needs every single weapon he has on offense and ones he can trust. And Tonyan is a guy he can trust. I mean, I'm expecting these to have a big bounce back game against the Commanders this week and Tonyan to be very relevant again. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't expect him to go out every week and score 19 points, but I think he can get, double digits most week, 12, 13 points. Even if he doesn't get in the end zone, like I say, didn't get in the end zone last week, still got the 90 yards. But if the Packers, man, what's going on? These guys they're highly touted every year. But exactly, garbage. But they have to get it right. I think they will get it right. And the only way is that Rodgers will trust guys like Tonyan, and I think he's going to be a guy you can put in your starting lineup every week and be happy with the numbers. So I think Tanyan's a guy. He's only 27% rostered. There needs to be an uptick in that for me.
Getting a call. It seems to be from Matt LaFleur. I think I heard he's talking to the Raiders and trying to get Devontae Adams back.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they are in desperate need of some type of hope, or else you may see Aaron Rodgers maybe leave the team. I don't know, but it doesn't look good over there. Their team does not look good. Right now, the Vikings are doing better than them. But I love Robert Tonyan. This man, he's really good. He's a top 10 tight end, and he's only rostered in 27.7% of leagues. And he's going to be keeping that uptick and staying with Rodgers because I think he's really the only guy that Rodgers can really trust.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, Lazard to a degree too, and then Dobbs is going to be a guy that's going to be boom or bust. I think most weeks for you. So, but I think Tanya is going to be very consistent.
The biggest guy that Aaron Rodgers trusts is not Devontae Adams; it's Christian Watson.
Yeah, yeah. Funny, you could trust him to catch a ball.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I really like Robert Tonyan. He would have been one of my top tight ends to add this week. Another guy as well is Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is
your boy.
Yes, he actually not a big fan of him. Actually, I think he was overhyped last year because he just kept getting those touchdowns. But this week he finished as a tight end 6. This past week, he's only 36.7% owned, 5.8 points a game. Don't look at that though. You don't want to see. Obviously, you see that average and you don't like it. They go on to face Chicago this week. He's overall tight end 25. Again, something you don't really like. It doesn't really appeal to you, but he had 7 targets, 4 receptions, 61 yards. Yes, he did get in the end zone. But the reason why I'm not concerned with that is because he would have finished the day at 10.1 points, which is fine for double-digit points for tight ends. And Zappy, he's zipping it in to Hunter Henry. He's targeting Henry a lot more. And, of course, Belichick spent all the money on tight ends, and it looks like Zappy's actually using them. So maybe we may see Zappy, and if Zappy stays in as a quarterback for the whole season, I think Henry finishes a top 10 tight end.
Big call, but then again, like we said, you only need a couple of good weeks and it shoots you into the top 10 of the tight end list. But I like the call, and what I liked about Zappy last week is he spread the ball around. I mean, you had Thornton having a big game. You've seen Jonnu Smith get involved, obviously Hunter Henry. You also had Jacoby Myers involved. So he was spreading it around against a pretty good defense in Cleveland. If probably people are thinking I'm probably getting hyped on Zappy. I'm not. I just kind of like what I saw, especially the last 2 weeks. And they were against, Cleveland's defense is pretty good. It wasn't against a really bad like Panthers or a bad team. You know what I mean? But Hunter Henry, definitely a solid guy going forward. I saw the guy with Mac Jones too, to be honest. Like last year, we were seeing gets in the end zone. Probably a guy I don't think you're going to be able to trust every single week, like to get to double digits. I think you'd be close, but I do like the pickup, regardless of who is the quarterback, because I still think you'll see the targets.
Yeah, I do like Henry. I just don't know how fantasy relevant he will be, but if Zappy stays quarterback, I think he will be fantasy relevant. I do want to mention a quick guy that might go under 70% owned this next week. That's Dalton Schultz. He was one of my big players to break out again and stay as a top 5 tight end, top 3 to be honest. He's right now ranked 51 because he's faced injuries. He tweaked his knee a little bit coming off that injury last year. 2 years ago, 73.5% owned. He might go under, but with Dak Prescott coming back, I'm expecting him to go be fantasy relevant again.
Yeah, I agree, but you just got to watch for. I think it's a PCL thing he has going on in his knee, because he was out this week. So you just got to watch that. But I think he will be very relevant moving forward when Dak is back.
Yeah, PCL sprain was the injury.
Yeah,
so.
Don't think it's a major concern. It's just like I would think I'd leave him on the waiver wire until you know more. That's my personal opinion, unless you've got room to stash him and then go. Because you got to wait on 2 things, right? You got to wait to see if Dak is confirmed as a starter this week, and then you got to wait to see if his knee is good and he's good to go. So,
yeah, exactly. So of course, Hunter Henry, Robert Tonyan, our 2 fantasy waiver wire tight ends, and of course, make sure to use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match first deposit up to $100. I know I played Thursday night football games, didn't win any, but of course, be sure to keep playing. And if you haven't played, once again, use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. But that's going to do it here in this week's episode number 23 already this season. Make sure to follow my co-host Keith all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. And make sure to follow him and his fiance on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. Once again, I'm Fernando. I'm your host of Sports Time HQ. We'll see you all next Tuesday at 12 p.m. instead of 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Next week will be at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to look out for that on YouTube. We'll see you all next week.